So the first thing we're going to jump into, instead of boring you with AGM stuff, is some presentations. We have some speakers that have volunteered, and we like to keep things a little bit difficult for people, keep them on their toes, make sure they never come back to present for us again. We've developed this time around, well, we haven't developed, we've stolen off of the internet, something that some other wise, smart person has done, a presentation style called Pechu Kutcha. So again, just for the challenge, if I've pronounced that wrong, I apologise to probably an entire nation. The key theme of this is to make it short, sharp and shiny. And every single one of our presenters is giving me daggers from the front row at the moment. The target is to present 20 slides with 20 seconds a slide on average. Some of our presenters have gone the full hog, gone the full Monty. Well, they'll keep their clothes on for the presentation, but they've gone the full committal with the automatic timing. So there's open latitude for everyone to laugh and have fun with the presentations. I don't think our presenters are going to mind that. They'll probably appreciate the sympathetic encouragement. Others, we're going to still try and hold to an 8-minute slot. They wanted a bit more, they're control freaks, they wanted more control over the presentation of the slides. So we've got 6 presentations which take us for a whirlwind tour around South Australia. So you don't want to listen to me talk for any longer. Our first presenter is Ralph, a presentation that takes us to Thebarton.
Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a little development in Thebarton called Holland Street. It's a water smart street. The project was a street upgrade. The street upgrade was basically a new plaza and a street that needed to be redeveloped. It was in poor condition, so there was some opportunities there to do some water sensitive urban design. We decided that we'd put in this street as a bit of a demonstration of water sensitive urban design. So what did we do? We put in some tree pits, which are basically passively irrigated trees from the road runoff, rain gardens, permeable pavement and stormwater harvesting. So where is it? Well, there it is, River Torrens, Port Road, Holland Street. The brewery's right smack bang in the middle. And if you ever go to the Christmas lights, it's just around the corner from the Christmas lights. So just down there. This is really the typical condition of the street before we actually did any of the works. So the street was just a standard 2-way crossfill street. Sort of reasonable width, I think it was about 8 metres or so wide. Footpaths on either side. The big thing though was you can see that the footpath was in pretty average condition. The curb was cracking, the trees were sort of impacting a lot on that footpath side there. So there was it was a very tired looking street and it just needed some freshening up and some safer accesses really, because it is a bit of a thoroughfare through this area. Right at the northern end of the street, so basically at the top end there, there's the bridge that crosses the River Torrens, which goes across to the entertainment centre, so you might be familiar with that little pedestrian bridge. That was really the focus for the entry into the street, so that became the plaza. That was the before shot. So again, not a very pretty looking area. This is as we started doing the construction, so this became a focus for the stormwater harvesting component of the scheme. So that photograph there shows basically underground tank, concrete tank going in and a bioretention basin going in. So there's a few more photographs showing how that all developed. There's a bit more of a close-up. So this is the left-hand side there is where the underground stormwater harvesting tank was. It was a 50 kilolitre tank. To the right was the bioretention basin. So it was all basically built as a single cast in situ concrete structure. So it all was connected. All the water that treated through the bioretention basin flowed into the underground tank, and then that gave us the storage for irrigation for the street. And that's 6 or so months later, or maybe a little bit longer because the plants are looking a bit more established, but that's the transformed street. So we've got a bioretention basin there that's treating the water. The underground tank's under that plaza, so you wouldn't even know it's there. And then on the bottom right there's where the main access is from the River Torrens pedestrian bridge. A lot of cyclists use this pathway, so there's a good connection across that bioretention basin and then all the way through to Thebarton at the back. So just another photo of before and after. So that was the transformation we did, and a lot of sort of green infrastructure type things that were incorporated in that plaza. So the street upgrades that occurred, So what we did with the two-way crossfall street, we decided to put it to a one-way crossfall. So all the water that ran off that street basically shedded off towards the left. We put tree pits on that left-hand side, which sort of pick up the stormwater and then infiltrate that water and treat it. On the right-hand side, you'll see there's some permeable pavement that was incorporated into the road, and it just made a bit of an interesting sort of aspect to the pavement of the road rather than just having a standard bitumen road. You can see there the spoon drain that goes along the left-hand side there. So that really is the key. It just sort of directs all the water from the road into those tree pits, and you can see the openings in the tree pits where the water enters into. And then all these trees, all the green areas of this street are all irrigated via that reuse scheme. This is a bit of a shot of how the road was constructed. So to keep access, there's businesses that operate in this street. The whole idea was to build half the street first, keep one side of it open, and then come back and build the other side. So that was sort of the progress of how the construction went. There's a photo of that permeable pavement that you saw in that previous photograph. That's sort of during the construction, so you can see how it was formed up with the edge beams. The gravel would have gone in next, which you can see there, and then the permeable pavements on top. On the right, there was some sections of the street which had what they call like a reinforced turf type arrangement. So it's effectively plastic boxes that are backfilled with a soil that you can plant into. So it gives it structural strength for cars, but you can also put soil in so you can actually grow things into it. Just actually one thing back on that one, you can see with the trees that are, as we're excavating with that permeable pavement, they were existing trees that were kept on that side of the street, and it was important that we didn't impact too much on the roots of those trees. So by doing that one-way crossfall, it meant we didn't have to really do any excavation on that side. It was just pulling out the footpath and just tidying things up, and we kept the top of the original curb as the new road level at that side of the street. So that was an important feature to keep the existing trees in that side of the street. Those are the tree pits on the left-hand side of the road. So you can see that's actually when it's operating. So it basically just water comes in through the spoon drain, fills up, ponds in, and then overflows via that same spoon drain. So no need to have pits in the actual overflow pits in the tree pit, so it doesn't detract from the aesthetic of the planting. There was a few instances where we had roof drainage that had to be managed from existing buildings. The issue with a one-way crossfall street, when you've got a downpipe exiting onto a one-way crossfall street, the water doesn't just simply sit in the curb. It's got to actually just flow across the street to the other side of the road. So when you get those sort of little trickle flows out of your roof water, it gets a little bit of an ugly look over the street. So we configured this system where we had a little surcharge pit, which you can see there. So when there's a lot of water coming, it does bubble up and exits out of those grates. But during the more smaller little trickle events, it'll just seep into that permeable pavement. So it avoids that aesthetic of having little trickle flows over the street. And there's a photo of really the finished, what it looks like now really, permeable pavement, existing trees, and then the tree pits on the left. So quite a nice looking streetscape. That's just the harvest scheme for anyone that's interested. I guess the interesting part of this harvesting scheme was we left it relatively flexible to the contractor to how to configure it. So we gave them a functional plan as to how we thought it could work, but we left it open to the contractor to choose whether they wanted to use a concrete tank, a plastic tank. You know, there was options that they could choose depending on what they thought was best for their construction method. So the idea was just give them enough information that they know the intent of the scheme, and then they can come back and detail it up and then put it into council for approval and then get it built. And that actually worked quite well for this project. And that's what you can see what they did with the all cast in situ concrete with bioretention as one unit. There's just a few before and after shots just to show you the establishment. This was sort of finished late last year, early this year. So the planting went in probably early January or maybe late December. I was up there a couple of weeks back, and that's what the plant's looking like now. So it's actually establishing pretty well. That bioretention basin, it's probably 600 or 700 millimetre deep. So those plants have really filled in that void, so it doesn't look like it's just a narrow, long concrete box. So it's actually starting to look quite nice. The right-hand side there, you can see there's a little feature that we did, and it was to do with a trip hazard. We put in a little strip which was higher, so it only had a 300mm fall from the edge. It's not necessarily a bioretention basin, but it's a planted edge that fits in with the bioretention basin. So water does filter through that and filters through the rain garden. Another before and after, again, trees are going quite well with the understory growth. That's in the sort of winter coat of the tree, so hopefully summer it'll start to get some leaves. And then West Torrens, Andrew organised an opening day to celebrate the whole project, so that was January this year, well attended. And yeah, check it out this festive season when you're looking at the lights.